So I was challenged to do a video recently about Swift. Now, I've talked about Swift in previous videos. It's a new or fairly modern and contemporary technique for treating verrucas. So, in answer to that question about doing a video on Swift, here is my ultimate guide to Swift. What it is, what we do with it, how we use it, etc., etc. So, number one, what is it? Swift is a treatment which uses microwaves, controlled microwaves, to heat up a verruca and create a cell-mediated immune response. So a cell-mediated immune response is one whereby the body goes, oh, we know what that is, we can treat it. Think of it as stripping off the invisibility cloak or the cloaking device, if you like, Star Trek and that kind of thing. So it uses heat to cause some localized damage to the tissue and also creates that inflammatory response. How long does each treatment last? The beauty of Swift is it's really, really easy and quick to use, which means it doesn't cause you any issues or delay on your normal kind of activities of daily living. So, for example, if you have an appointment in the middle of the day or a lunch break, you can come in, have the appointment, and off you go. It's relatively simple. If we were using local anaesthetic, as we do with some of the other treatments, theoretically you're not insured for 24 hours, which means that you've got to be driven up there or get a taxi up and the same back home, and it means you've got to sit with your foot up for a while. Swift doesn't require any of that, so it's a very, very, very quick treatment. Saying that, one of the benefits is speed. One of the negative sides is that it is uncomfortable because we don't use any anaesthetic. We want you to feel what we're doing, but at the same time it does cause an element of pain. And I've had a couple of people over the courses of treatments I've done who've had one treatment and said, actually, no, I think I'd rather have the verruca than the discomfort. On the whole, though, people get the pain during the treatment, it settles very quickly afterwards, and then it's not a problem at all. So when wouldn't you use Swift? There are certain cautions that we have when using Swift. So, for example, if you've got any kind of metal implants within your feet, no, we don't use it at all. So any kind of joint replacements in feet, no, we don't use it at all. If you have a pacemaker, we don't use it at all. We're very, very careful with things like diabetes, as we are with diabetes in any of the treatments which we do. But on the whole, we can use it on the majority of people. I won't use it on anyone under the age of 12 personally, because for me, I think that children have such a rapid turnover of skin cells that it's using some of the very relaxed modalities such as taping and filing can make a big, big difference. So a tincture of thyme, letting it get macerated, that makes it a lot easier for the child. And certainly with the level of discomfort, I wouldn't want to levy that on any of my children as well. So I'm very reluctant to use it on children under 12. But on the whole, we can use it pretty much on anyone. It's a great, great technique for that. So what should I expect after a treatment? After a treatment, any pain that you've got during the treatment should normally settle down. Yes, we occasionally get some throbbing and some discomfort, but it normally settles very, very quickly. Things which you can experience after treatment, however, there's a risk of infection. That's the case with most of the treatments we use. There is a risk of infection. There's a risk of blistering, there's a risk of burns, and there is a risk of scar formation, although it's something I've never come across so far. Probably the worst response I've seen, or the biggest reaction I've seen, is where you get these isolated pockets of fluid, which you just take the top off a week or so later, drain the fluid, and they settle down quite nicely. I look at that and think, actually, that's a really good response, and that's the inflammatory response we want. But so far, infection is a risk. I haven't seen any. It's usually just those localized breakdowns. The other thing we tend to see is a blackening of the skin. It's almost like a blackening scab which forms over the area. Again, I think that's a really, really good response, and I'm happy when I see that. The key thing is with any of these treatments, explaining all this at the onset so people know exactly what to expect. How long does the treatment go on for? I normally say to people, if I'm treating with most of the modalities we use for verrucas, that if you're going to be working with me, expect to work with me anywhere between 4 and 6 months. And the reason I say that is that verrucas don't always go quickly. Some do, but not always. Verrucas with Swift don't always go after the first treatment. Occasionally they do. I've had one person recently who's had a miraculous turnaround where a very, very big area of verrucas on the bottom of the feet, treated once, came back for the second treatment, they pretty much all gone. It was amazing. But most people will have somewhere between 4 and 6 treatments on average. So those 4 and 6 treatments, each treatment is set 1 month apart, and you'll find that for those 4 treatments, obviously that's 4 months, and then we review and then we treat again if we need to. So on average, about 4 to 6 months of treatment. And it's really important when I talk to people about it is I say, look, don't expect it to go quickly. We're going to be working together for a little while. And probably one of the other questions I get asked is, does it limit the activities that I do after I've had the treatment? And the answer really is no. You can pretty much do anything you want afterwards. Obviously, if you've had a little bit of a breakdown, we talked that fluid we talked about earlier, you want to be very, very careful, and there's some dressings involved in that, which we talk through and we explain and educate people on how to use those. But pretty much with Swift, it doesn't stop any of your normal day-to-day activities. It's great for that. So another question I get asked is, how do I find out more? Well, drop comments below, pick up the phone, give me a call, email me, go on the website, go on the Facebook page, drop me a message, and let's start a conversation. Let's have a talk about it. Swift isn't for everyone, and we assess all of our patients at the onset with verrucas, and we talk through the different options available. Swift is one option we have other options on the table. And as with anything, it's matching up the treatment to the person. It's making sure it's the right fit at the right time, and that's always a conversation we have at the beginning. And another question I get asked is, how much does it cost? Because Swift is actually a modern piece of equipment, it comes with a high capital cost, and that has to be factored into the pricing structure. Unfortunately, it's a business element to it as well. But I would talk to your podiatrist about the difference in cost between individual treatments, so having one treatment at a time, and also packages of care. And most podiatrists who use Swift will offer you a package of care, which is usually a discount on individual costs over a period of time. I can talk to you about my pricing, more than happy to do that. If you want details of it, drop it below, drop a comment below, and I'll gladly put pricing out there for you. So I hope that's answered a lot of the questions you might have about Swift. As always, I'm sure there are things which I haven't talked about, which you want to know. Just drop me a line, let's have a conversation. Give me a call, drop me an email, drop me a note on the Facebook page, whichever suits you. Let's have a conversation about it. And as always, any questions, give me a shout.